For Canadians living in remote or northern communities, internet service is sketchy at best. Tired of waiting for the big telecom players to make improvements, Ontario communities like Stratford, Muskoka and Thunder Bay have found a way to run their own internet service. So have Olds, Alberta and Coquitlam, BC. Could this do-it-yourself approach be the way of the future? Ramona Pringle is the director of the Transmedia Zone at Ryerson University. Before we even get into the solution, and I think everybody has a story about this, how frustrating it can be. You go 45 minutes north of any major city or just outside of any major city, you can get places where there's no high-speed internet available.
Absolutely. I think it's not uncommon to hear stories of people leaving the room for 20 minutes and working on another task while an email attachment downloads.
Right.
Or if you talk to teens, because they've always got their strategies for how they cope,
right.
They say, oh, log in at 2 or 3 in the morning and you'll get better service than the rest of the time.
Well, and this isn't just, oh, I wasn't able to watch the new, Riverside on Netflix or watch the thing on YouTube. This is small businesses.
Yeah.
This is like kids doing homework. Aaron Saltzman did a fantastic piece about a year ago about a kid just trying to do his homework that you had to log on and do it on the internet. Couldn't do it from his house, like just outside of Ottawa.
Well, and that's why the CRTC recently, in December, said that high-speed internet access, reliable internet access is a right that all Canadians should have. And that's where we're seeing all of this taking shape, because relying on the big telcos to do it hasn't really gotten us to that place. They don't have the financial incentive, because the thing about a remote small town is that it's expensive to get there.
Absolutely.
The infrastructure, getting there in the first place, it's costly. But then there's not a big enough population to have to pay it back in terms of subscribers. So there isn't the incentive for a subscriber-based big telco to come in and do it, and that's where we see these small towns coming and doing it for themselves.
So what is this work? How does it work?
Well, what you're seeing in these small towns is it's a push for fiber optic networks.
Yeah.
So in the case of Olds, Alberta, let's say, they have 8,500 residents.
Right.
And so they decided, because no one was going to do anything for them, that they would just build their own fiber optic network. And it is a matter, we talk about the internet, and I think quite often because of our mobile devices, we think it's all just magically
everywhere,
in
all
the
the
air.
time.
But fiber optic cables are actually laid in the ground. They're these glass cables that are laid in the ground. And in some communities, when we talk about them doing it by themselves, there's something overseas, I think it's in the UK, this case study, where they actually, when we talk about the community doing it, they dug the trenches and they were splitting the cables, and they all got together and they were actually doing it. In these cases, when we say about community broadband or these local municipal internet, it's really just that the community is the one who is behind this initiative, that they're finding some funding.
It's like the oldest school utility, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
That's how it used to be.
And because they're there, they're able to set up an infrastructure with the support of government funds and different funds that are available to build their own internet, but it's not reliant on Bell or Rogers or TELUS.
Does it kind of give them a free pass, though, the big telcos, to say, well, they're doing it themselves, they're just fine, we don't need to go up there?
Well, so that's definitely, there's two sides to this. On one hand, I think some of the big telcos are going, whew, okay, it's off our shoulders.
Olds, Alberta, tick off the list.
We don't need to deal with this now. But the other hand is, they were saying forever that they were going to do it, that they would eventually do it.
They've been getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the government
There's also,
do it.
It's also not uncommon to hear stories where they say that the download speeds are one thing, and if you actually go and test them, it's vastly different. So what we're seeing, you ask about how it works in Olds, Alberta, fiber to the premises means that those cables run directly to people's homes, to people's businesses. So they're getting some of the fastest internet in the country, and what's really remarkable is that they're paying some of the lowest prices. So for example, ONET in Olds, Alberta, they're paying $57, or as low as $57. In Calgary, which is the next big city over, they're paying over double with the major telcos.
Isn't that something? Now, you talk about the big telcos there's no incentive for them to go in and do this. Can they be incentivized? I mean, is there a way for the government to say, you know what, we have given you boatloads of money over the years to do specifically this. It's still a problem. Get out there and do it.
Well, the CRTC has this new pot of funds. They've put aside $750 million, which on one hand sounds like a lot, but this is infrastructure we're talking about. It is the same thing as laying down roads. It's very, very similar, so it's going to go by very quickly. But they're really prioritizing partnerships between either the telcos or ISP, internet service providers, and municipalities. So it could be, the provincial government, a small municipality, even a First Nations government. So they are trying to promote this kind of initiative. The difference in terms of what's in it for them with the big telco, they want the subscriber fees, but with a small town, the incentive that's there is also the fact that young people won't leave, or if they do, they'll come back. It's going to benefit the local economy.
Sure.
So there's financial incentive that goes beyond just what are we making each month off of our subscribers.
This notion that the CRTC says that it's a basic service, and they're really specific about their language. You know, there are people saying this is essentially made it a utility. It's not, right? It doesn't. Does it have much actual weight and muscle to change the way we distribute the internet in this country?
I mean, you know, what we've seen is that just this week, right, there's this MTS being
BC
bought with by Bell, and so that's sort of a move in the absolute opposite direction, which is what this move underscores, or what this the municipal broadband campaign underscores, is the fact that more choice is better for all of us, whether you're in a small town or a big city. When it's not just the three major players, the big three who are competing, we have more choice, which means that there's more competition, which means it's better for consumers, and this is true across the board. And
so walk me through the logic on that. If Olds, Alberta pulls this off and has cheaper internet than Calgary, does it have a direct line to better, cheaper internet service in big cities like Calgary?
Absolutely, and the reason being, so the argument there is that even in our big cities, even in Toronto, we don't have fiber optic networks everywhere. And there's an opportunity for the city to step in and start building some of those networks themselves. And if they do, they can lease that back to the big companies. They can partner with the big companies on it. But they become another player on the market.
Competition and ownership in it.
The example you mentioned off the top, Thunder Bay. So they've been running their own internet for ages. The big three are also there, but because the municipality is one of the players, it means that all of those big three offer Thunder Bay only deals because they have to compete. You know, if Bell comes into Olds,
capitalism, who'd have thunk?
If Bell goes into Olds, they can't charge $150. No one's going to go with them.
No one would go with them. Imagine how that works. Well, then thanks, Olds, Alberta. Thanks, Sudbury.
Yeah, leading the way.
All right, we got to leave it there. Great to see you. Thanks for this. Ramona Pringle, the director of the Transmedia Zone at Ryerson University.